To split this scene up into passes, let's switch over to the render toolbar and look at how we might do this. If I switch the Explorer to the scope of passes, I'm probably going to want to break this down into stages. I'm going to start by isolating just the background buildings first. We can focus on doing single frame renders of those. So I'll create a new empty pass, and I'm going to call this my BG buildings. As far as the number of frames to render, I'll set a frame range of a single frame, because this is never going to change on me, and that looks pretty good there. What I want to do here is extract all of the buildings. So if I open up a second Explorer and access the building geometry, I'll just middle click select on everything in the destroyed buildings model group, and I'll put them into their own partition. So in their own partition, I can see the objects show up, so I'll call this the buildings partition. And everything else that falls into the background objects partition I want to remain hidden. So I get something like that. Okay, so that looks pretty good. There's some lights I don't really need to affect the ground in this particular pass. In this case, I don't need the muzzle blast light affecting my scene, the building. So I'll partition that object off and hide it. So I'll call this the muzzle light. So there's my first scene. I'll build a second pass, a new empty pass, and for this one I'm going to include all of the terrain. So for this I need to again isolate in my Explorer the sky, or not the sky, sorry, the ground, the grassy area. Just those two should do fine. I don't think I have a tree line that you can really see here, but I'll include it anyways. I'll partition off those three elements, and I'll call this one my ground objects. I'll call that ground objects there. And we'll make sure that everything else in the background partition is hidden. Okay, so let's move on here and create some of these other passes. So this would be the terrain pass. So we've got two passes working, the BG buildings and now the terrain. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Again, in the terrain pass, there are certain lights we don't need. The muzzle blast light, we'll actually partition that off and hide it. And then we can focus on the character.